Okay. We're getting to the council meeting now. Call the council meeting to order. That there is 2 more points to add for clarification in the in-camera section here.
Thank you, Reeve. 2 items to add to the in-camera session. One deals with a possible purchase of land or potential litigation, specifically landfill. And another item deals with an identifiable individual, Blythe BIA.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda with those additions? Deputy Reeve Breach, Councillor Wadden, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Declaration of pecuniary interest, if any. None noted. The Reeves report, there's a number of things going on that I'm not going to belabor and prolong the meeting tonight because it might be long enough. So I will answer questions on events or things that are happening, but we will proceed to reading of the minutes of the previous meeting. Do I have a motion? Deputy Reeve. To read. That's in favor of them?
Yes.
Councillor Wadden seconds. All in favor? Carried. Deputations. Gary, do you want to introduce David?
Okay, I'll call on Mr. David Blaney. Mr. Blaney is a councillor with the municipality of Huron East, and he's also our representative on the Source Water Protection Committee for the Asavo Bayfield Maple Valley Source Protection Region. Councillor?
I'd like to thank the staff and councillors of North Huron for inviting me here. It's not actually a usual event, strangely enough. You are the only council so far that I've dealt with and actually wanted to know what was going on. So I think you should give yourselves a pat in the back. I'm not going to go through the whole background of source water protection. It, as you all know, came out of the tragedy in Marketing. But there are a couple of things I think probably you should realize before I get into a more current edition of what's going on. What this particular proposal, the source water protection plans, is intended to do is not protect your water today, it's to protect your future water. As you all know, we have a lot of things in place to protect the water that's coming out of the ground right now from municipal wells. But one of the things that came out of the Walkerton idea was that we should protect the future water we're going to be using in our reservoirs and aquifers, because it's an awful lot cheaper to protect it before it gets contaminated than to have to try to fix it after you've done that. And that's what this is really intended to try to do. Make sure we don't have a future problem that we create today. The second thing is that it was mandated that local authorities, local people, determined what their individual plan was. So that our plan area has to do with the Maitland Valley and the Asavo Bayfield watersheds. And the Asavo Bayfield Conservation Authority took the lead in this. And just so everyone knows, actually this is a case where the provincial government paid the whole bill for getting this done. This has not come out of, for once, sorry, I am a municipal councillor, has not come out of the levies that you pay to your conservation authorities. How long that'll last, I'm providing you with absolutely no guarantees. So on to where we are now, and I'll give the update as much as I can. We have sent our report in, and we sent it in on time. And we hope that it will be returned to us sometime this summer by the Minister of the Environment. And only 5 have been sent back so far. However, what they're finding is there are not huge changes being asked for by the Minister of the Environment. There's some timeline changes, some wording changes, and some ideas, but there does not appear at this particular time to be a terribly interventionist response from the ministry. So that's one of those things. Hopefully we will get ours back by the summer. We've actually scheduled a meeting for later in the summer, 25th, well, in the fall, the 25th of September, hopefully to address any comments that we get back from the Ministry of the Environment. I have actually something here that I will try to explain to you. One of the things involved in the plan is what are called threats, which was an unfortunate word to use actually, because in a lot of cases, it sounds much more dangerous than it is perhaps in some cases. And what they have done is they have gone out and actually in your municipality, they have done a preliminary examination of things, and you don't have a huge amount to worry about, to be frank with you. Where they find a threat, there will be a policy related to it in the plan, and that threat will be dealt with in our plan by what is called a risk management plan. Now, anybody who's a farmer knows about manure management plans, and basically risk management plans are somewhat the same type of idea. And it simply means that there will be a set of arrangements set down between you and someone called a risk management official, and that's not, I don't mean you, I mean the person who has what is called a threat on the property, about how they're going to deal with it. And this can be really very simple. In a lot of cases, what we're finding is that basically fuel tanks, basement fuel tanks, not above ground fuel tanks, because there is a volume of fuel involved that makes an above ground tank all right and an underground tank not all right. And the basic idea there is that underground tanks or basement tanks might actually leak and you might not notice it, whereas above ground tank, you're obviously going to pick it up pretty quick. And those risk management plans could be as simple, I'm not saying they will be, but they could be as simple as getting your tank inspected once a year. That would be how you would manage your risk in that particular case. Now, I have the preliminary figures for the risks in North Huron. They are not, by the way, attached to any particular piece of property. I don't know whose risk or whose property we're dealing with here. That's a privacy issue. And basically, in the whole of North Huron, there will be 17 risk management plans. Of those risk management plans, 11 of them are for something called dense non-aqueous phase liquids, which we all refer to as DNAPL, simply because the other thing is such a mouthful. And these are particularly nasty chemicals, which the chemical composition, I really can't tell you, but if anybody who's dealt with paint stripper, the old style paint stripper, that's one of them. And the problem with them is once you get them in the aquifer, they're just about impossible to get out. However, they only become a threat if they're over 25 liters. So basically the guy with the can in the basement, because he's fixed, stripping his dresser, is not in a particular position to worry. I would suggest that probably most of the DNAPL threats are industrial in this particular case, and I'm also going to suggest that frankly they probably already have plans in place to deal with spills and that sort of thing, simply because that's what they do for other reasons. There are 3 that relate to agriculture and 3 that relate to fuel. The agriculture ones, one is about pasturing, and I don't know whether it's a feedlot or what it is, but that's the category it's in. What that means exactly in that case, I don't know. And the other 2 have to do with the application of azim pesticides or fertilizer. And I will, for people involved in agriculture, our particular group, our particular committee wants basically risk management plans to be based on manure style management plan. And in a lot of cases, they would be your manure plan if that's what the threat is. The other thing to keep in mind is with threats, it's only the piece of property within the threat area. And by that, there are 2 types of things. There's the 100-meter zone around your wellhead. That's a critical zone. And the other one is a 2-year time of travel in the aquifer. That is also considered critical. Now, there are a couple of things here that you might want to know. I just want to get it right because they have to do with money. There have been programs out there for funding remedial work to basically meet, here we go, okay. There is a program currently in place which is called the Early Response Program. And that is for significant threats. There is money to deal with them. However, it should be noted that this is an extension of a previous program which has had a great deal of uptake, by the way, in places. And it is only going to be valid up until December the 1st of this year, or the effective date of the local source protection, whichever comes first. There was, as of 2 weeks ago, $178,000 left in that program. So anyone who thought they might wish to access it should probably be phoning the Oswald Bayfield Conservation Authority and finding out whether they're eligible and how they're eligible. The second very helpful thing, I think, is that the government has said that they will provide $13.5 million to support small and rural municipalities with the implementation of their risk management plans. There may, however, as there sometimes is, be a catch in that, and that is, it has not been confirmed, but we have been told that this money will first be directed to municipalities that partner. And what that means is municipalities that go together for risk management officials, municipalities who go with one of the conservation authorities, or risk management that goes, people that go with the source protection agency, in this case, which is the Oswald Bayfield. And they're still working out exactly who's going to do what. There's a number of proposals out there about getting together as a group and going to the source water protection, perhaps partnering with another municipality to do it. And I believe in some source protection areas, there'll be partnerships with the health unit and things. But that $13.5 million is available, I believe, over the next 3 years. Yes. So that's something you should keep in mind, and I'll send more information to your clerk when I have something a little more definite. This is stuff that's come up very, very late. they, much of our plan is based on education outreach. Basically, we have not put a lot of you can't do's in our plan. We didn't think that was the appropriate way to go. We've also not, now I will admit, there are some in the 100-meter area, there are some you can't do. That's quite it. But what we have done is not backdated things. In other words, we're not trying to punish people for something they're doing now in the area that would require a risk management plan to deal with, and if they ever stopped doing it, they couldn't start doing it again. But we're basically not sort of punishing people because they're already doing a business or something within the area. This is a proposed education outreach plan. The thing you have to realize is that in spite of the Oswald Bayfield being the lead agency for the Source Protection Agency and that sort of thing in this area, the legislation says it's the municipality's responsibility. So you have to actually take some responsibility. There's things you can give as responsibility to another partner, as in case the Source Water Authority or the CA. But the legislation really does say you have to make a decision and you have to do it. Now, when we were talking about it, we decided it would be awfully foolish for every municipality in Huron and basically a lot of Perth to come up with their own education outreach policies. So we asked that that be done by the Source Protection people, and they have come up with this, and I will get some copies to send to you. This is only a draft. It's a proposal. And there will probably be changes in this rough area, but I will get the information to you. With one specific thing, I do believe you're thinking of doing something with your wells in Blythe, if I remember correctly. If, and I will send this to you, if you were to determine that you were going to change where your wells in Blythe were within 5 years, you can actually, there's a way of opting out, taking the wells you currently have out of the Source Protection Plan, if you wanted to do that. And that is the question you decide whether you want to do yourself. But there is a method of doing it. There would be a method if you thought you were going to, between now and 2014, have your new wells up and running, that you could get them in the plan. But knowing how long wells take, I'm not terribly sure you're going to have them drilled and ready to go by 2014. That's certainly not the way it went when we had to do it in our municipality. I think that's about all of where we are now. As I said, I can't actually tell you our plan's been approved because it hasn't. The Ministry of the Environment's still looking at it. I'm hopeful that when they do see it, they won't object too much. There will be a couple of kerfuffles. There's a couple of things we told them that we wanted them to do things faster than I think they want to do. So we'll see who wins that argument, but I think we all know who would eventually. So I will let it go with that. And yeah, that's about all that can happen. I could tell you, just as it goes, you would have no risk management plans. Currently, this is drafted. This might change a little bit, but you have none of your Auburn area with a risk management plan. There's nobody there who falls within the appropriate area. Blythe seems to have would have a maximum of maybe 4. Whitechurch has 3, and Wingham would have 10, and I think you'll find the ones in Wingham are probably all industrial, just from the type of thing they are. I can't prove that right now because I don't know exactly, but I'm thinking that they probably won't, individual landowners won't be involved in the Wingham ones. So that's about all I have to say, and answers the questions if you have anything you might like to.
Any burning questions, council?
Just one.
Go ahead.
So out of those 10 around Wingham, if 9 of those were in Morris Turnberry, do we control that, or is that up to Morris Turnberry?
Those are on our side of the line.
Yeah, the Morris Turnberry has its own set of
Own 10?
things, yeah. No, these are yours. I'll put it that way. What they have done is, these are ones in your municipality affecting your wills. Is, as far as I can understand, all of these are. That was one of the things, by the way, that was considered the problem with cross-border, you know, my well, your problem type of thing. But that is basically covered by the fact that the plan crosses municipal boundaries. In some cases, it crosses county boundaries. And you are lucky, you are not one of the, you're not Minto, which actually has a line running up the middle of it, so they have source water protection plans from 2 different places. And they're deathly afraid they won't agree with each other. You don't get into that problem.
Well, thank you very much, David. I know from some of the earlier meetings that we attended together and went through workbooks and one thing and another. I'm glad you're following it up for us.
Well, I think probably after those experiences, you and I knew more about threats than we ever wished to know in the future, and we also maybe learned a little science while we were at it. So anyway, thank you again for that, and I hope it's been helpful, and maybe I'll send that stuff to you. And don't hesitate to, if you have other questions, don't hesitate to send them to me or to Jenna Elaine, who is the lady who is the head of the program at Oswald Bayfield, and is very good. So thank you. And I don't really want to say I'm not interested in the rest of your meeting, but I have my own tomorrow, so I'm going home to read things. Thank you.
Okay, further in the deputations, Donna, do you want to introduce Paul?
Yes, thank you. Sorry, Paul, we're running a bit behind schedule here this evening, but I'd like to introduce Paul Seaback from Baden Mendring Seaback from Clinton, and he is going to present our 2012 an overview of the statements. Paul won't go line by line, of course, but he will give you the synopsis, and as well we will be posting the copy of the financial statements on our website later on this week after we've had a chance to look at them. So again, thank you, Paul, and we're glad to have you attend tonight, so please take it away.
Okay, thank you very much. The highlights of the financial statements are mostly positive for your municipality this year. During the year, you spent $2.7 million on capital assets. The majority of that was road, water, and sewer in Josephine Street. You also bought a fire vehicle for $310,000. You did some road work on North Street and purchased police cars. So you did buy quite a few capital assets, and you were quite fortunate you didn't have to borrow to finance a lot of it. So that was good. During the year, your reserves increased by $1.1 million. $700,000 of that is general, and $440,000 of that is water and sewer. So your reserves at the end of the year were $6.9 million. During the year, your debt decreased $132,000, mostly planned payments from $3.9 million to $3.7 million. During the year, you did have some, at the end of 2011, you did have some loan advances that you did change to long-term fixed rate loans. And at the end of the year, by the way we calculate the surplus for budget and tax purposes, you had a surplus of $379,000. That's all good. Just going through the report quickly, the auditor's report, I usually just mention that our job is to express an opinion on the financial statements, where it's management's responsibility to present the financial statements. As far as that goes, it's a clean audit report. When we come here, we ask for a lot of information. Everything was made available to us, and any outstanding items that we became about during the audit process, they were cleared by the time the draft and the statements were prepared. The first page is the statement of financial position in your balance sheet, just highlighting the differences. At the end of the year, you had $6.3 million. $3 million of that is in the general funds. And then there's about $2 million in the sewer accounts and $1.2 million in water. One of the reasons the balances went up this year was your reserves increased, and also at the end of last year you had some outstanding receivables from Josephine Street that you received and became cash. You also had $600,000 of taxes receivable. Municipality does a good job of collecting the taxes, usually about 96%, and over $400,000 of that is current. The receivables are lower this year because, as I said, last year you had balances outstanding from the county and the province in regards to Josephine Street. Long-term receivables, those are tile drain loans. You still issue those, and they also show up as a debt. One thing that doesn't change over the years is your investment in West Ontario. The $1.6 million, we don't have a way of giving that a fair market value, so it always shows on your financial statements as cost. Your payables were lower at the end of last year because you had fewer holdbacks, mostly in regards to Josephine Street. Every year we are required to estimate the landfill closure costs, which is quite difficult because a lot of them are 60, 70 years down the road, and we do put a note in that respect. Deferred revenue is development charge, etc. And then the municipal debt, the $3.8 million. We have a note on that, and we'll go through that. The next page is your statement of operations. It does include your capital grants. If you look at 2011 actual under government transfers Ontario, $5 million, the majority of that was Josephine Street capital. So it does include capital, but it does not include the capital expenditures. It does include depreciation. Last year, your expenses include $1.5 million of depreciation, and it does not include transfers to reserve funds. Just going through the actuals for revenue, one that stands out is government transfers to other municipalities. You received more money from the county than expected in regards to Josephine Street. And the county also provides a lot of your money for your daycare. One thing that's a little unusual is the last item under revenue, you had a loss on a street that you disposed of. Basically, when you did Josephine Street, you had an existing street and you totally got rid of it. So that street did have a value in regards to water, sewer, and roads. And when you got rid of it, you had a small loss on it, and then you start from scratch with the new cost. So that's what the $360,000 is. Your expenditures, most of your departments through the year did as well as budget or as expected, so you either had small surpluses, which is good. It's just certain things. The health services, those are your cemeteries. Social family services, the majority of that are your daycare. So your annual surplus is $2.3 million, but that's before that money has to be raised to make your debt payments, to provide for your capital purchases, and also allow to make your reserve fund transfers. The next page is the changes in net financial assets. That tries to revert back to more of a cash basis. So it takes your surplus, it adds back the depreciation of $1.5 million, but deducts the tangible capital assets, that's your roads, your fire truck, etc. So you're still coming out ahead there, $1.4 million, which is very positive. The next page is statement of cash flow. It explains why in the last year you had $4.3 million in the general water and sewer banks, and at the end of the year you had $6.3 million. Your operations generated $4.9 million. You spent $2.7 on capital assets, and your net debt payments were $131,000. So you generated $2 million of cash in all three bank accounts. The notes to the financial statements. There's a note on number 5. It talks about your investment in West Ontario, and it says that it is at cost. There is a note on the landfill closure estimate. It shows that The two largest items have long-term, Wingham is 66 years, these are all estimates by an engineer and so forth. So it's saying your total cost down the road is going to be $4.7 million, but because it's so far down the road, you really only need a present value of $45,000. That's a very difficult to estimate. What it also says is that you have reserves of $74,000, and your plan is likely to just increase your reserves and plan for that way. Your municipal debt, we have a list of all the loans. The first one is the one for the West Cass Community Center. The $999,000 was the purchase of the fire assets for the fire area board and also road grader that year. The $255,000 was for road projects. The $500,000 is what's left over from the advance on the Josephine Street. The $1.1 million is the ESTC Center. The $252,000 is a rink grant, and the $73,000 are child rate loans. And it talks about all your payment terms, and it shows the payments for the next few years. Note number 10 describes your surplus, the $1.4 million, which also includes water and sewer. Your investments in fixed assets, $47 million. Your investments in West Sterling, $1.6 million, and all your reserves, including water and sewer, that add up to $6.9 million. The next two pages show break down your capital assets. You can see where the $2.7 million, where it was spent, roads, water and sewer. A lot of it is, at the end of last year, there was $3.6 million that the Josephine Street wasn't completed by then, so you had to redistribute it this year. The next page, it breaks down your capital expenditures by department. You can see under protection, that's your fire truck and your police car, transportation or roads, environmental or water and sewer. The next page is important. It shows your reserve funds. It shows your opening balances of $5.7 million, the monies that were added to it, and then the money that was taken out of it, the $300,000 for the fire truck, money for Josephine Street. At the bottom, it talks about your federal gas tax funds and how that money was used. You received $153,000, you spent $157,000. 37 was for Josephine Street and $120,000 was for North Street. So at the end of the year, you had a total of $6.9 million in your reserves. And the last page is useful under operating expenditure. It shows where your money is being spent. General government, $800,000. Protective services, that's fire and police, $2.2 million. Transportation, that's your roads, bridges, $2.1. Environmental is your water, sewers, $1.9. Health services and cemeteries, the daycare, $800,000. Recreation, $200,000, for a total of $10 million. Does anyone have any questions on the financial statements that were presented?
So I'm going to suggest this is a better financial picture this year than last.
It is, because I'm quite certain that when you started Josephine Street, no one foresaw that you would have been in a position where you didn't have to borrow as much money as you did.
Did everybody hear that? We got some good news for a change.
Any other questions?
That's great. So thank you, Paul, and we'll be discussing these in a little bit more detail. The one variance always is that Paul has to consolidate this with all of the numbers instead of the numbers that you see that we work with, like all our little bridge accounts and all of those are incorporated into the consolidated statements as opposed to the taxation statements. So that's where the numbers you see monthly don't include all the consolidations. So if no one has any further questions, I would like to ask for a motion to adopt these financial statements for 2012 as presented.
Bailey and Campbell. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
thank you very much, and as you said, last year and the year before. The difference was the stage of construction. It really changes things around. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any business arising from previous meetings? Okay. Anything you want to say? And we dealt with salaries, stuff, so. Moving on to new business. Is there anything? Okay, council information then. Points or questions from council for Pat?
Hi, yes, I just wanted to highlight the letter from Libro Financial, which is great news. So our youth group, and if you remember a few meetings ago, they came, I brought their video that they were going to London with, and so they've received a fantastic letter. They've received all of their funding that they requested, $29,650 for the revitalization of Riverside Ballpark. And so we're going to have a little, I guess, press event to inform the press and have Libro represented, our youth group there, and our township also. So that's going to be, I'm just getting the date and time exactly for you, tomorrow at Riverside Ballpark at 3 p.m. And we're looking forward to hearing from the group and all their future planning. They are hoping to have a meeting of any ball enthusiasts, whether you play ball or have a lot to say about ballparks or whatever. So a public meeting on Wednesday, June 24th at 5:30 down at the park. So everybody in the community that has something to say about how they'd like to see the park designed has their opportunity to provide input to this youth group, who's going to be working hard over the next few months to figure out how that ball diamond's going to look when their project is done. So it's a really good news story. I wanted to highlight to council and let you know some of the updates since we received that letter about what's happening with that group.
We should send a letter off and thanking them very much for this effort.
Council letter to Libro.
Yes. And to the group that started. I don't think we've ever thanked them. That's fantastic. Second that.
Okay. That's enough direction. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carried. Yes, and that basically it's really restored my faith in the youth can put something together. This is a tremendous project, and the lessons learned in doing it will carry those people all through their life. So that it's something to be very proud of, the group that can make things happen. Other points?
Okay. Number 8, the letter that we received regarding ATVs on municipal streets. I think it's important that we reply to this young man to not necessarily to go along with his request, because I don't think we can do that, but I think we need to let him know that we aren't just brushing him off. There are reasons for the policy that we have on ATVs, and to show him the other side and to do it with respect.
Okay, and so that you are making a motion?
I'm making a motion that we respond to this young man with the reasons for our bylaw.
Further discussion on it?
I believe we had these discussions quite some time, maybe 2-3 years ago. I'm just wondering if the chief of police should get involved with that letter, because there were several situations where he had input.
that there was a number of things that I think it was the ATVs mostly for country and just to supplement maybe to get home or one thing or another, that the tone of this letter, I took that it was more wanting to use ATV as a mode of transportation in all places, and that if you wanted to run down to the store, you'd use the ATV, and that I think that we have enough documented things as to safety and one thing and another, but yes, I think staff will take that as checking with the chief of police as to comments about urban ATV use. The-
Oh, sorry, it is a
We-
motion,
yeah.
moved by Councilor Bond, seconded by Deputy Reach.
All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay, Donna, did you want to point out the infrastructure, rural affairs, possible funding?
Right. So thank you. I attended the first of 10 roundtable discussion meetings this afternoon in Goderich, and regarding the new $100 million available for small and rural municipalities to meet some of our infrastructure deficit. These funds are hoped to be flowing by October the 1st. And so we were able to have some really good discussions. It was very well attended. It was a full house today. And we were able to provide to the ministry and various ministry personnel some of our suggestions as to how this money should be doled out and some of the problems that we've had in the past with funding. So at our table in particular, we've talked, in our table, I mean this table, is that we've often talked about that we get no feedback on the application. We don't know if we didn't submit enough information, or and it always seems that someone else beside us got the money and it didn't seem to meet the criteria, so why didn't we, all of those sorts of things. So we asked for some sort of a scorecard on the successful application so that we all know how they were evaluated. We also talked about with $100 million, we felt there should be some type of a cap on that, because if one municipality applies for 25 million on a project, then that doesn't leave much to go around as well. It was fairly divided on whether the allocation should be merit-based per capita. There was some suggestion of reviewing the applications that we just submitted that we were unsuccessful of the previous M3 applications, looking at those first, or those having some priority, or some combination of all of those. So, as I said, there was a lot of varying opinions on how that should be looked at, and they will gather that feedback. The one other thing to note was that in order to have these funds flowing by October 1, our asset management plans don't have to be finished until December 31st, and so there's going to have to be some sort of a recognition that they aren't completed by October 1st, although there was some talk of having, maybe some added points for those that are done by that time, but of course that's not in concrete. So it was a very positive meeting, very good information, and some really good discussion. So I hope that we see something out of it, and we'll certainly be putting some type of an application in for October 1st, as long as the criteria is still something that we would have. Now, of course, they're focusing on the roads, bridges, water, and wastewater. That's the focus at this point. So everyone has a number of projects that I'm sure they could submit.
Well, I think if you look all across Canada, the number of, I'll say, stormwater problems that maybe our storm water project for Blythe, maybe it's ahead of some of the others, because of, it just shows that the unsure weather happens, and that we know that we're vastly undersized currently, and that that project is to protect people and property.
Sure. One other point that was brought up is that most times when these applications come out, there's a really short turnaround time of when the application has to go back in. So therefore, you almost always have to have something shovel ready to be able to apply. And they were talking about the downfall of that as opposed to stable yearly allocations where you could sometimes then, if you have a shovel-ready project, it doesn't always mean that that's your highest priority, and that that would meet your most need on your asset management plan. So there were merits to having some sort of stable allocation yearly, as opposed to these time-crunched inputs where you have to have an application in 2 weeks. And the other problem is that was pointed out is that there's only, for these types of projects, for the most part, you need an engineer. There's only so many engineers in our area that can help you with these types of applications as well. And then also when those types of projects come out, there's only so many contractors that can do this work. So sometimes that doesn't lend itself to the best prices on those projects either. So a more stable, balanced approach may also be a better way to go about it. So anyway, we'll keep you posted on what comes out of it, and I'm sure we're going to hear as the summer moves on with these meetings.
Well, thank you very much for making yourself available to be at that meeting and representing our interests. Thank you. Other points? Okay, if there's nothing else in the council information, a motion to receive, read, and file. So Councillor Lawson, Councillor Campbell, all in favor? Carried. Does that include receiving the letter from Howard Central Public School?
Yes, I'll include that in the motion.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Is this right? The bylaws? And bylaw number 52, 2013, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 82, 2008, as amended, being the zoning bylaw of the Corporation of the Township of North Garden. Brackets, Montgomery bus lines. Are we ready to discuss that bylaw? Or not?
I don't think we are ready for that.
Okay. That,
So,
if we're not ready?
I think we have to consider recommendations that she has in there too, of it's just going to be bylaw as buses in there, or not, so I don't
Okay.
think, no, we're not ready for it right now, until that comes through.
Okay.
No, not right now, but I think we could all agree that we can go ahead with the other bus stuff they want to do, get it in a bylaw and bring it back to
Yeah.
us. Would that be?
But she doesn't have we don't have a written bylaw for this, like she had some stipulations in there, but
Yeah.
we do not have that written bylaw, do we? It's not in this bylaw, right?
Yeah,
Should it just be
There's,
school buses, or just buses without transport? Truck?
So there's a draft copy of the bylaw in your packages, but I think our planner is proposing that that section 5 be revised slightly,
Right.
and so maybe we should wait.
Yes.
We desire council to wait for the specific wording.
okay. Okay.
Can we pass this current bylaw as it stands and then add changes to it at another meeting? And then this would allow the applicant to proceed and go ahead with some of the initial grading work and get going on the project.
I suppose that's an idea, or you could pass the first and second reading, not the third. And that the final
The
version would come.
The
before
final
council.
would have to have all the wording, where, that if we did a first reading, that we would be, in the process, where final wording, would be in before we would do a third reading on it.
Because I don't speed the process up any.
Would that allow this gentleman to go ahead and start to do whatever he has to do? Or is he still going to be waiting?
It would really legitimize some of the work that he's already doing, such as having a professional working on
Site plan,
the
site plan.
well, the water, stormwater management, et cetera. Rock,
Could we ask the applicant if this would be of help to get started on the project, or if it will make any difference?
In terms of being able to actually operate, or in terms of the second and third reading?
I think we're concerned with the fact that we do not want to hold you up. We want you to go ahead, and the council is saying as a whole that we're agreeing with you. We just have these few things that Sally's pointed out, that we'd like to put that in our bylaw and bring our bylaw forward. So it's a bylaw and we all go forward together. We do not want to hold you up. Having said that, we still have 20 days where somebody from the public could come and hold you up.
Okay.
But I didn't see or hear anybody, or, you know, so we're just asking you if it's holding you up, if we wait and do this properly at one time.
Well, the gentleman just down there, if we're allowed to operate and things like that, I don't see it holding us up.
James,
I prefer that we did the first and second reading, and this allows him to know that we are going ahead. The third reading would be when he came back with the storm management, and that lets him start the storm management, but it also lets Sally come in and do the wording for, and it would be a schedule the same as what we have here now.
Dave,
I'll make a motion that we pass this bylaw, the first and second reading today.
I'll second that.
discussion? Is everybody ready to make up their mind on that? Okay.
Just one thing, so should, in Dave's motion, should it be on the third reading that all else is done? Should we have that in there?
That is accepted practice, that the third reading is the final, and that is what is the ruling portion. First and second are part of the process.
And I think it's important to note that council has accepted the recommendation of our planner, which was to approve the zoning amendment. So the approval is there from council. It's just there's some part of the bylaw, part of the wording of the bylaw needs to be revised.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Council reports and inquiries. Councilor Bailey?
I've got a couple motions I'd like to put forward, starting with the first one. I'd like to put a motion forward to rescind the order of council on July 2nd to have the Director of Recreations and Facilities tender the airport farmland lease at the Richard Levant Airport from 2014 to 2016.
Do you have that, Gary?
I can give it to
Could
you.
you repeat that?
I can just give it to you when I'm done, if it goes through.
I'll second for discussion purposes.
So I'll suggest why I did this then. I'm doing this because it's been brought to our attention that the airport lease that we talked about at the last council meeting, we decided to go ahead and try to tender it out in again, like every good council, trying to get more money towards the tax dollars. Unfortunately, we are under a lease with the person that's using it right now, and he has a 3-year extension. And he has the legal right to keep it for 3 more years. Yes. So we need to, I'd like to bring that motion back.
Read the motion again, please.
Yep. I'd like to put a motion for it to rescind, or to bring back the motion. So rescind the order of the council that we did on July 2nd to have the Director of Recreation and Facilities tender the airport farm and land lease at the Richard Levan Airport for 2014-2016. So I'm asking to back off to tell our Director of Recreation not to tender now. Don't bother going to tender.
Councillor Vaughn?
There are a number of legal ramifications that we need to get cleared through our lawyer, and I think that requires a discussion in camera before we make this move. I'm not opposed to the essence of this motion, but I don't think it's at the right time. I think we need to have some consultation on specifics, and that's my view at this point.
Okay. And okay, that I agree that there's, I think, points that need to come out in an in-camera session as to providing context and clarity to a number of the things. Ray?
Barry, I'm a little confused about the years. What are you saying here again?
I think we, at the last council meeting, we gave it from 2014 to 2016. It doesn't, the lease that we were gonna tender out was from 2014 to 2016.
That there was a tabling motion on that till we had more information. I still believe we need that extra information.
Okay.
That in effect, it would be raising the tabling motion to go back to that subject rather than a new motion. Gary?
One option for council's consideration is that we do have information from our solicitor that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, and you would have an opportunity to review and discuss that legal opinion in camera. And if there's a comfort level among council on a way forward, you can make a motion once you come out of in camera to move this along.
Okay.
That's a good suggestion.
Okay. Motion books, so we have to,
I'll withdraw that motion.
okay,
I agree.
okay, thank you. Makes it a lot simpler. Okay. Other points from council? Or reports? Deputy.
We had a letter from a young lad about ATVs, and we've discussed this at great length, and I'd just like to put into record that the ATV people that have come to us in the past have had lots of opportunity to form ATV clubs and organize and set up some trails and become self-police. And to date, they haven't taken this opportunity, and I wish that, I just wish that the ATV riders in the municipality would organize and do something similar to what the snowmobile clubs have done, so that we can see the ATVs used responsibly and safely within the municipality. But as it stands now, I do feel that we've taken the right course of action on ATVs, but they are a fact of life, and if they want to do something about it, the ball's in their court.
Okay. Right?
Is that, is,
Yes, I'm done.
okay. I'd like to make a motion that the council go back to the committees of the whole.
Okay.
Okay, the reason I'm saying this is that I'm finding that council has got to make too many snap decisions on things that are presented to us. We get our agenda on Friday and council meetings on Monday night. You know, we're making motions to, I don't care if I chargers for vehicles when we don't know how much it's going to cost to install them. We don't know what, you know, where we're going to even put them. We acted last week on this lease with the information that was presented with us that we thought was good, that was right. Find out that it wasn't, so I think we've got to have time to discuss some of this, and I'd like us to see, go back to the committee of the whole meetings that were presented to us.
Right.
So I assume that suggestion entails having meetings the first 3 Mondays of each month, with the second meeting being the committee of the whole.
That is the intent of the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second for discussion purposes.
Actually,
Oh, you already did.
you had seconded.
No, you can go ahead.
No, I don't need to talk, I second it, you go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
Oh, you just want a second?
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Those opposed?
I am and I'm not. Just needs one more night out.
Tie vote is lost. Okay. Anything else from councillors?
Yes,
Right.
I would like to make a motion for council to ask Kelly Church to get prices on tar and chip for some of our gravel roads, or our gravel road in the town for next year. Or pavement.
Motion.
Investigate pricing
Investigate.
options. Okay.
I second
Discussion from council. All in favor? Or,
I
did you have?
just wanted to ask a question, but would it be helpful to name some specific roads, or would that not be a good idea?
I don't think you would heavily travel ones if we get some sort of a road count on them, wouldn't that be best?
You know, we've had a road count and
Yeah,
it'll come up in our asset management
yeah.
plan as well.
Okay, that's fine.
Determine which ones are in.
It's good.
Need it.
Okay. All in favor? Carried. Okay, if there's nothing else from council, moving to the clerk administrator's report.
Okay, thank you, Reeve. A couple of things for council attention. Just wanted to mention that the mock disaster that was held last Thursday was a great success. This was a emergency management exercise, joint exercise between North Huron, Morris Turnberry, and Howick. As part of that process, we established our alternate emergency operations center at the ESTC. We brought together our emergency control group, and we had a large contingent from the fire department on site at the Blueville Conservation Area. We also had a contingent of staff from Public Works, and at the last minute we already brought in recreation facilities to help with some inquiries about shelters. So overall, it was a great success. In total, there were 13 different organizations and agencies involved. And on Thursday, after the mock disaster was over, we had a sort of a lunch for all the participants, and there were 125 in attendance for lunch. So just to sort of give you the magnitude of and the scope of the mock disaster. And we will be having a final debriefing this Wednesday, July 17th. And that mock disaster allows us to fulfill our requirements under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act, which requires municipalities to conduct at least one emergency management training exercise a year. So we have fulfilled our requirements for the year. Just a reminder that,
if I may, Gary, you said the debriefing on Wednesday for the municipal CEMC.
see that, that's correct.
Okay. The one point talking to Gary Wood on Saturday, that we maybe should look at possibly using the police a little more to control the area, so that where hydro lines are down, where very present dangers are still live, that controlling access is a good thing, because parents are one thing and another, with a school bus with young people turned over and hydro lines down. Too many people are rushing in to help. Many times, a lot of them don't have the necessary training how to work around live hydro wires.
And that was an issue on Thursday with a few of the participants.
Yes. And that just little things like that, it'll probably come out in the discussion, but that was the one thing that I really noticed from having participated in these exercises, is don't get anybody else hurt.
We'll pass it on.
Okay, sorry for interrupting.
Not a problem. Just a couple other items. Just a reminder that next Thursday, July 25th, is Municipal Night at the Blythe Festival. And so far, we have 55 elected and non-elected officials planning to attend. So I think that's a tremendous response. I am expecting to hear from a lot of other municipalities and both elected officials as well as non-elected. For those of you that haven't responded, please let me know if you're planning to attend. Again, that's next Thursday, the 25th. Also wanted to mention that the August 19th council meeting that is scheduled falls within the week where I believe 5 of you will be at the annual conference in Ottawa. So we may want to look at, I would recommend that we cancel that meeting, and we'll provide public notice in newspapers, but you may wish to reschedule that meeting for the week before or the week after. I know, just as an example, last year we did not reschedule that second meeting in August, and that's another option as well. But we're here to serve, so whatever you'd like.
When is the first Monday, or when will the first meeting in September be?
I think it's Tuesday, September 3rd.
Council on attendance, would it be easier going a week earlier in August? Or a week later? Do you have any idea, James?
If we knew in our first meeting in August, you will probably have an idea of what was going to be extras on the agenda, whether or not we needed to deal with them in August or whether they can wait till September.
Deputy Clerk mentioned that we do require time for advertising. That's per municipal act. So our preference would be the council make a decision tonight as to a date. If you'd like to reschedule or not reschedule that second meeting in August.
I would suggest that we cancel the meeting, carry things over till September.
Bernie?
I'd rather just reschedule. We have official planning coming up we're dealing with. All the other things we're going to be dealing with. I'm just not sure one meeting, and it does not matter to me when we have it. I'll be
I'm easy.
Maybe you and I and whoever else could have a committee of the whole meeting.
Gary?
If it's council's wish to reschedule that meeting, would Monday, August 26th work? I'm just thinking perhaps there'd be some updates from the annual conference from the attendees. There would be some time between that meeting and the August 6th meeting.
I would go along with that.
I'm fine with
I think there's consensus on that.
Sure.
I guess changing, we maybe should put it in the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Rock and Dave? All those in favor? Carried.
Thank you. And finally, I just wanted to, just one other thing, I just wanted to note that last Wednesday there was a meeting of the North Huron Columbus Center Advisory Committee meeting. It was attended by myself, Councillor Bailey, and Pat Newsom, and we're working, or the Knights advised us that they're having a community fundraiser on September 4th, and we're looking for ways to help them with that. And we also talked about the need to establish a subcommittee to begin working on a renewal of the current agreement between the Columbus Center and North Huron. So more to follow on that. And finally, I just wanted to share my time with our Director of Recreation.
Thanks. I just have two quick things. One, I wanted to mention that our day camp numbers are doing really, really well. Our first week we had 66 participants, and the second week 65, so we're into 65 right now, which is good numbers. And another exciting piece of news, I'm not sure if everybody caught on the news this morning, that the U21 Internationals fastball was held, and Ontario won. And George Armstrong from Wingham is part of that team, and he's one of your staff. He is one of our summer students, our park summer students this year, working in Blythe and Wingham, and he is accredited here in the paper. Wingham's George Armstrong was also part of the team and picked up the win on Saturday against Newfoundland to keep Ontario going. He's a pitcher. So very exciting news for all of us.
Thank you. There's the items for in camera, but I've listed those already.
Okay.
I have one question for Gary before we move on. The debriefing, do I have to have my evaluator report in for that, or is?
It's not necessary.
Later's fine, okay, that's great. So I couldn't be there.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, motion to go in camera. Oh, sorry, just a sec. Public gallery questions or comments. Trevor.
Just have one question with regard, so, great news for the Libro group. Pat, kind of through you, Reeve, to Pat, does that discussion with that group involve full, like, build, design, maintain? Like, is that part of the discussion complete, or is it just design and build, and that's it?
I guess the money is spent, or the money has been allocated for design and build. It is not part of long-term maintenance. However, while we have the ball users there, if there are concerns about maintenance, then that can be part of the discussion. But this group is not tasked with discussing how we're going to maintain the park. I'm not sure if that answers your question, maybe I misunderstood the question.
No, that answers my question, just if the public, if in that public meeting, maintenance is because maintenance in this infrastructure in North Huron is a big issue with probably half of people. So if that is a public discussion, is that where they do it? With regards to that project?
With regard to Ball Diamond?
Yes, specifically that project, because again, we have other infrastructure in town. If you have an issue with that, we can bring that to you on an ongoing basis. The issue that people may have is that we're putting a brand new infrastructure in place today, and we got problems with the same infrastructure in another place. So if we've got problems there, what are you doing on this new thing to not have those problems later? Do you understand what I'm asking?
I do, and I'm going to be more specific. So you're referring to some of the maintenance issues at Optimus Ballpark.
I'm not just Optimus Park.
Okay.
Blythe.
Right.
All ballparks. Let's just say all ballparks in North Huron.
Right.
They may have issues.
Right.
Fencing, curling,
Yes.
whatever.
Right.
Whatever. Like, I'm not like. What I'm suggesting is that the place at that public meeting to have that input from the public with regards to the new facility, because again, if we're getting $25,000 or whatever the number is from Libro to build that facility, I'm sure council isn't going to want another application coming past their desk in 5 years to replace the fencing or whatever else is coming up. So I guess my question is, where is that the place to do it, or is it better to do it the same as any other infrastructure that we have in the town?
So to answer your question, we typically have an annual ballpark, for specific that, ballpark user meeting, and those issues are definitely brought to that table at that time. So specifically, what problems do we have this year? What do we need to address? There's also opportunities during the budget for problems to be brought forward that need attention as far as financial maintenance to be addressed. Having said all of that, if there are concerns about the ongoing maintenance of the new park, I think bringing it up forward to that meeting, we would collect that information and share that with council or whomever needs to hear that information. I don't want the youth group to necessarily be tasked with that, but I think that hearing about maintenance and making choices about how that park would be designed to improve or make best long-term maintenance planning, I think that would be definitely appropriate for that meeting.
Okay.
Hope that answers your question.
Yep.
Okay.
Danny?
You guys really can't wait a week? You're gonna meet on the 26th and then on the 3rd of September?
We're very keen.
Okay.
Did you want a week off?
Sometimes.
Any other questions? Okay, motion to go in camera. Dave and Brock. All in favor? We will have a short hearing.